This is the Halibut Sweater I'm casting on right now. I wanted to make this for a toddler, for a few different toddlers, but the patterns, there's a couple patterns that I found, didn't have anything in toddler kid sizes. The smallest size they had was like size 0 or size 1. So the pattern called for either 4 or 6, size 4 or 6 needles. I can't remember. So I am using size 2, and for like the collar and the cuffs and such, I'm using size 1. I ended up talking to an AI about how to knit the gauge so that I could have a smaller circumference and height without changing stitch count. And in my head, if I made it a smaller stitch count but kept the larger needles, the halibut itself would have been too long and like gone down to the kid's waist. And in hindsight, I don't think that is the case. But I spent like 3 days just like fretting over how I was gonna get this to a kid's size. At this point, I finished casting on, and now we're working the ribbing for the collar, which is knit 1, purl 1 for 3 days. My mom got me this yarn off of Amazon. It's 100% merino superwash wool. I am going to leave a link as to where to get it if anyone wants to check it out. The collar in the pattern, not recipe, is supposed to measure out to like 4 inches, maybe even 4.5 inches for a mock turtleneck. And so I'm like, well, if it's for a kid, I'll make it 3 inches. And it goes all the way up to my kid's chin. Like it's so high up on him, but it's supposed to be for Christmas for next year. Trying to do all of these for Christmas for next year. So hopefully he'll get a longer neck by then, because oops. I've got to say that ribbing is so miserable for me. I'm so slow. I am so bad at it. And it just sucks for me. It's so slow and it takes so long, and I just like want to get to the next steps and be in stockinette. And it sucks to have to do it like first thing with all of the anticipation of knitting the whole sweater. This is the first knit row after doing the ribbing and switching to the size 2 needles right here. Look at that poor little needle in the background just flopping around. In case anyone is wondering, the pink triangle is to mark the beginning of round. It's the very center back of the entire sweater. It's not super crucial, but it's helpful for sure. So I'm starting in on short rows, which is the back of the neck to make the back longer than the front. I'm doing wrap and turn short rows. So you slip, you wrap, and then you turn, ideally. I am super dramatic, and you'll see it after I struggle. And I put stitch markers on every single one because you do have to go in and like knit 2 stitches together afterward where you did these, and I was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to identify where they were at, so I added a stitch marker. It was totally unnecessary because I was able to see afterward, but I just wasn't sure. This is the first time I've done short rows of any kind. So, better safe than sorry. In case anyone was wondering how Don Quixote is going, I had to give it back to the library. They have this app where you can check out the audiobooks, but if somebody's in line to listen to that book, you can't renew it. You have to give it back. It just takes it from you. Like, I couldn't even do the whole late fees thing if I wanted to. So I'm only like halfway through it, and I had to give it back to the library. It says that there's an 8-week wait, but I don't think that's true. I think it's 2 weeks. I think that they're lying to me so that I don't... what am I trying to say? So that I'm set up to wait 8 weeks and then I get it in 2 weeks. I think I don't know why they would do that, but I'm convinced my library is gaslighting me. But it's going super good. I really think it's just my favorite book ever. It's so silly that he's just this old man running around in his hijinks. And then his Sancho Panza, his squire, is like the biggest goofball ever. And he's just playing along with the ridiculousness. And I can't stand it. He's almost worse because he's not like an allegedly insane man. He's just this guy who's listening to this insane man and going along with all of his antics. So, yeah, it's my favorite. Here I am still working on short rows. I think I ended up doing 4 total. But what you do with these short rows is you just pick this one strip. I mean, my pattern picked it for me, but this one strip length of fabric, and you knit a length, turn around, purl a length, turn around, repeat. And what that does is it adds length, but only on one side. But then you're not like dropping stitches like you would like a sock heel. You just go right back in the round after you're done, and it worked really smoothly. I was surprised. I was nervous about it, but it came together just fine. I am so slow at knits and purls. I think you can see it in the way that I wrap the yarn around the needles. I know that there's faster ways to do it, but I get carpal tunnel pretty easy. And I found this way you don't really have to hold the tension so much in your fingers, and that helps to not get carpal tunnel. So I just go slow and envy people who don't have to go slow. This is where I'm resolving the short rows now. Right there where you're picking up those 2 stitches. I accidentally take it off camera. I'm so bad at that. I'm so sorry. But yeah, you're basically just like doing a knit 2 together kind of thing, or a slip knit to be more accurate about the motion. But like where you wrapped it, you pick that up and you pick up that stitch. And that's why I put my markers in there, was because I really didn't want to mess it up. I don't know why I keep setting myself up to do knitting and crochet on the tiniest hooks and needles possible, but I keep doing it for some reason. I don't know if you guys prefer to watch knitting videos or crochet videos. You should let me know. I prefer to knit, but I will crochet. I have an Afghan that I'm working on, and I've got some Animal Crossing plushies that I want to make, and also an Animal Crossing handbag kind of thing, or I guess it's a crossbody bag. So let me know what you prefer to see, because I can do both. To be fair, looking back at it, that one was a little hard to identify. I was struggling there to see where that little wrap was, so maybe it was a blessing that I used those markers after all. Now I've started on the color work. It's so strange to me in knitting, you just throw the color in there without tying any knots. This is the second color work piece I've ever done. The other thing I did was Selbu mittens, and it's the second sweater I've ever made. So I was pretty excited to do a bigger color work piece, though I did struggle a little bit. I think I did okay. The whole time I'm knitting at this angle, I am watching The Office. It is like the only show I ever watch. I think just in the past 3 months alone, I've watched it all the way through 4 times. 4 times. And I've been watching it forever, so I couldn't even tell you how many times I've actually watched it all the way through. But I just can't find anything else I want to watch. If anybody has any recommendations, let me know. So proud. So proud. The whole pattern's starting to show up, and I am so pleased. It ain't much, but it's honest work. If anyone's wondering about the finger tattoos, it's Led Zeppelin. That's all. Now here is where I've noticed I've made mistakes. You see where it's all lumpy? I did my increases the wrong direction. You can make them facing left or right, and I inverted them. And you can see all these like white bits, the floats coming through. So yeah, made some mistakes, learned a couple lessons. Did I frog it? No, I did not. I'm leaving it. I don't care. It's for a toddler. It's gonna get grown out of in a year anyway. I learned, I learned something. I learned to pay attention, because that's all it was on my pattern in my head. I was like, well, this is the right side. It'll be a right leaning decrease. And then after a while, I was like, maybe I should double check. And the right side was left leaning and the left side was right leaning. So it's lumpy. It has some character. It is what it is. So for this pattern, I used my merino superwash wool. I'm reading the label and it doesn't actually say superwash, so I lied to you earlier. But I used, they're 130 yards. They weigh 1.8 ounces. So for the red, I've used 3 of these little skeins, and for the white I used 1 and then ran out on the last 2 rows and had to break into a new one for 2 rows worth. So that kind of sucked, but it happened. But I don't know, I think I'll have enough red to finish the whole sweater. I definitely had enough white. They come in a 6-pack, so pretty awesome. Have some leftovers. Sometimes when you're catching the floats, like you just do it wrong and you can't figure it out, and you try 7 times and it doesn't work. And that time wasn't so bad, but sometimes, it'll take me forever to figure out what I'm doing, and I just feel so ridiculous. I know there's like a million different methods for catching floats. I can't even remember the lady's name. I'll link the tutorial that I followed, but it's worked out so far so good for the 2 colorwork pieces that I've done. You just don't let them get any longer than 5 stitches and you wrap them. But you have to be careful because they will pull through and show on the front of your work, and that gets so irritating. I think altogether this yoke took me a week with like pretty constant, pretty consistent knitting. Like I said earlier, I am super slow. I am so slow. Like, this is at 2 times speed, I think. And it's still like not as fast as some of the other people I see on here. But yeah, so about a week doing a size 0 or size 1, I can't remember, on teeny tiny knitting needles. Now, I do want to point out, or I guess say, I don't think it'll take me a full week to finish. Maybe, I don't know. I have to do 2 sleeves and the rest of the body. But the color work, I feel like, does take a little bit longer than just normal standard stockinette. So I really don't think the rest of the sweater is going to take me that long. I hope it doesn't take me that long. We'll see. I do plan on knitting 2 more of this sweater. I want to do one in blue and the other one in red. I don't know if I'll film it though, because what am I going to do? Film the same sweater 3 times? That feels a little ridiculous. So I don't know. I have some in-between projects, but maybe I'll just make a couple shorts of the ones that I'm knitting after this one. I am going to try to do them with the bigger needles and the smaller stitch counts, because one of the ones that I want to make, I don't think that I could get it any smaller with the smaller needles method, and it's for a 3T size, I think, and I just don't think I'm going to be able to get it that small. So I think I'm going to have to do just a smaller stitch count and hope for the best. So maybe I will film that just to compare and contrast. And if anyone's wanting to do an adult size sweater in child sizes, maybe this will be helpful for them. And maybe seeing the 2 different methods played out might be helpful. We'll see. You should let me know. There were so many moments where I had to go and undo and sit and count and realize where I've made the mistake. I should have filmed it a little bit more, but I did make a lot of those mistakes where I accidentally did 3 reds instead of 2 or something like that, and then it messed up way later down the line. Learned lessons, pay attention. At this point, I think it's a little bit farther now, but once the tail was done, I started showing everyone and being like, does this look like a fishtail to you? Because it looks exactly like a fishtail, because it's a picture of a fish. But like when it came to life like that, it was so exciting. I had to show everybody. Just want to point out, the trick to not getting your yarn tangled up is to get good. This part kind of sucked because the fish head was getting so thin that all of these reds in between took so long. I mean, not right here exactly, but you had to start like toward the end of the fish head. You had to start catching a lot more floats, and it's just extra steps when you're just like so close to being done. And that's all that I filmed. Did the rest off camera. And here's what it looks like. So far, anyway. Yeah, look at those fish heads. Right here's where I got all lumpy from doing the increases the wrong way. Lesson learned. I'm just glad it's coherent. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully part 2 won't be too far into the future. At this time, I still have to knit the whole rest of the sweater. But there it is. And here are the floats. I think it looks so cool. None of them carried too far. I think even if my kids did wear rings and earrings, they wouldn't get caught. Yeah, let me know how I did. Thanks for hanging out, guys.